Alright guys, good evening. It is 9:45 on Monday, January 23rd, 2017. Again, 9:45 p.m. New York time, Asian. And alright, sorry about that. So like I said, it's quarter to 10 Monday night, the 23rd. And just wanted to point something out. We have some major event risk coming up here at 4:30 a.m. New York time during the London session, and that's this EU membership court ruling. And this is going to be the United Kingdom's High Court is due to announce a ruling regarding the government's ability to bypass Parliament and initiate the Brexit by triggering Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. So for anybody that was trading back when Brexit happened over the summer, you know the enormous moves that produced. And if you were on the right side of that, you made some bank. If you were on the wrong side of it, you probably blew out your account because the volatility was just so incredibly high. This, I think, if this comes out, in a timely fashion at this time, and I don't know if this is a drop dead time, or I mean, it doesn't say tentative, so I'm assuming that this is when it will actually be announced. This is going to be some major event risk that I wouldn't doubt if it produces the same type of volatility as the initial Brexit did. And so just looking at the charts right now on a couple of these pound pairs, and I'm going to probably get up early tomorrow and just take a look. If I have any hesitation or question at all, I will not be trading. I'll just tell you guys that right now. But it's really hard for me to say right now. So here's the pound Swiss. This is the daily chart. And, obviously, if we zoom out a little bit more in the weekly chart, we certainly have been in a pretty strong downtrend here over time. And, then we had this move up right here, come back down, and now it appears to be moving back up again. So I don't know whether we're in the midst of some kind of temporary up move or an ABC or something like that. Now, if you go down a little bit on this chart, so here we are on the 4-hour, you see this rising wedge here. Now, this can sometimes be a very bearish type of pattern if it plays out this way, because it's suggesting a market that's running out of steam in one direction. So yes, he had a strong move up, and now our range is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually it runs out of room, and then something has to break. And usually in a rising wedge, then you have a move to the downside. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen, because if you look at the euro pound, it looks a little different. So you would think if the pound Swiss were going to go down, the euro pound would be going up. And I don't know if that's going to happen, because to me, on the euro pound, this move right here looks like an ABC, and then we've started another downtrend. So that's a conflict. But this also could be a wave 4 correction, and we'll go back up. So a little bit of conflict there. Pound Aussie and the pound Kiwi, the pound Kiwi, the pound Swiss, and the pound Aussie all look the same. They all have that rising wedge formation. But I don't see a lot of confluence here on the euro pound, because again, this would suggest the euro pound would go up, which it might. I mean, because this is not a very other than this candle, this is not a really impressive move to the downside. It's just kind of meandering down. So the bottom line is, like I said, if I have any question whatsoever, I'm not going to trade this, because I'm not going to get caught on the wrong side of this. And you know what? If I miss a move, I miss a move. I missed the one over the summer. I didn't trade that one either, because I just wasn't going to take the chance. And I just sat back and marveled at that, thousands of pips that it moved in that short time period. But I'd be curious to know what you guys think, based on your analysis or system, whatever you guys use. Like I said, I'm looking at Elliott wave patterns and trying to figure it out. And You know, the pound pairs really are not my favorite ones to trade because most of the time they move on the news, the British pound news, and most of it comes out at 4:30 a.m. Eastern time where I am, and that's, you know, it's tough for me to be up at that time. Normally I'm asleep, so I have to set my alarm and get up at like 4 o'clock and take a look and decide whether I want to take a trade or wait, or just say the heck with it and go back to sleep, which is what I do if I have any question at all. Because obviously getting up at that time, you're not thinking very clearly. So, but right now here at 9:50 p.m. the night before, there's not enough to make it to go on right now, in my opinion. You're gonna need, you know, several more hours of price action and the opening of the London session to really give it some direction. So, anyways, be curious to know what you guys think. Again, um, I think, you know, in the morning, if you see like if you see this, you know, for instance, you see this pattern here going, you know, correcting down, you get a little move back down here to maybe to this lower trend channel, then we potentially could shoot back up. But if at the round just before the news comes out we're moving up, then I would expect that we would eventually, you know, that the news would trigger it back to the downside. So I'm really going to wait and see. I'm not necessarily married to these two trend lines, but they do look like wedge formations right now. And even if you tighten this one up a little bit, it's still pretty much a wedge. Like I said, even if you don't include that low down there, this is still a wedge formation. So, like I said, I'm going to be getting up. I'm going to check it out and see. At this point, I'd say I'm at best 50-50 of actually placing a trade. But again, I'd be curious to know what you guys all think. So hopefully in the some of these rooms I'm part of, Forex Gods or Art of Forex Analysis, or in my Skype rooms, that we get some confluence on what y'all think is going to happen here. So let me know, and then the next piece of news, which I'll be probably more focused on because it's more up my alley in time frame, is tomorrow night. We have Aussie CPI at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. CPI and trim CPI, these are red level events. These are very important numbers for the Australian dollar. So tomorrow afternoon, and certainly leading a couple hours leading up to this news, I will be doing analysis of all the Aussie pairs and seeing if there's any potential trade. Like I said, guys, you know, I'm not a news trader. I don't just jump in or out of a trade based on news. I trade Elliott wave patterns, and if the pattern is setting up to line up with a news event, you know, to end a trend or to end a correction, then that is what you're looking for. You know, if there's no setup, there's nothing setting up, then I'm just not going to trade it. You know, if I'm not already in it, I'm not going to get in. If it doesn't look like a trend's going to reverse, or, you know, a correction's going to end and I'm in a trade, then I'll just stay with it. So so I just always like to point that out. As people say, well, you trade the news. No, I don't trade the news. I trade Elliott wave, but I use news events to help time the entry and exits based on, you know, the news events being a catalyst for an entry or an exit. So again, but the pattern always comes first, all right, and the setup always comes before the news does. And I have this multi-period CCI indicator down here. This is basically a tertiary thing. I use it for some confirmation, but a lot of times I just minimize this thing, and I really don't even look at it much. I'll just keep it like this. If I really wanted some extra confirmation, I can bring it up, but it's not something that I normally you know, am focused on. So, but that's the only indicator I use, as you can see. So yeah, so that's it, guys. Be curious to know what you think, and I'll be looking and poking around, seeing what everybody's opinions are. And like I said, but either way, I'll be getting up and checking it out tomorrow and see where we're at. So good luck. Be careful. You know, if you call it right, like I said, you'll make some bank. If you're wrong, be prepared for a really bad ride, because even if you have a stop loss set, if the market's too volatile, it's going to blow right through your stop, and you know, you'll get killed. So anyway, so that's it. Have a good night, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Maybe I'll make a video tomorrow night, prior to the Aussie news coming out, once I get a chance to look at those pairs. Alright guys, we'll see ya.